Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your host, Michelle Stern. Breaking news, people, breaking news. I just tuned in to Nationwide News Network to, hear what Cliff has to say or to see if he's back. He's not. But while I was there, not even 2, 3 minutes after, one piece of hot news come in and not when keep you up any longer. I will make you listen.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, listeners. At 11:25 a.m. on this Monday, February 2, 2026, Nationwide News can report that Jolyan Silvera, the former member of parliament for Western St. Mary, has given instructions to his attorney to change his plea to guilty in the matter concerning the death of his wife, Melissa Silvera. We understand that Jolyan Silvera's plea is his position, his instructions are that his plea be changed to guilty relating to the charge of manslaughter. That is what we understand, not murder. He's not pleading guilty to murder, but that he's pleading guilty, he wants to plead guilty to a charge of manslaughter. Now, it's of course up to the prosecution to determine if they will accept that course of action in this matter. But a significant turn of events, and we understand that it follows the publication of ballistics evidence. Of course, the government will have its own evidence from the ballistics office. The defense will have, of course, sought to get their own, and based on how both sets of tests correspond and the overlay, we have been made to understand that it is the considered opinion of the man at the center of this matter, Jolyan Silvera, that his plea be officially recorded as guilty to the charge of manslaughter. I repeat, Jolyan Silvera, we understand, has told his lawyers that he wants to plead guilty to the charge of manslaughter in the matter concerning the death of his wife, Melissa Silvera, at the couple's matrimonial home. We'll have much more on this story in subsequent newscasts.
Now, the question whether this will really be justice for Melissa depends entirely on what the DPP, Claudette Thompson, does. She has to look at the evidence, whether it is strong or weak, or whether or not it would save the court time, or whether or not the evidence would, justify him being able to or allowed to plead guilty of manslaughter. And one wonders, why would he change his plea? Well, this is a nice brown bononos man, and he's been in jail since when? 2024, 2 years, and it cannot be a nice place. I hear it not very nice. No nice warm bed to sleep on, no bathroom to use if you use pail with probably a holy other man and some holy other dangerous criminal in the cell with you. Dark, one little bee in the window, one door with one little bee in the window, like them a cage up some dangerous animals. So it's not a pleasant thing, and he has to live this day in, day out. I don't think they stay in the cell all day, right? But your life is not your own. You're given orders. You're to do what people say you are to do. You eat when people say you are to eat. You sleep when people say you are to sleep. This is not something that a man of his stature, former member of parliament, uncle, I believe, or cousin, was also a former member of parliament and minister of government. This would not have been the life that he would have seen for himself, except for a moment or two of madness that seems to have been protracted, because the way in which it is alleged that the wife died, that was not something that just happened at the moment. That sounds very much premeditated, planned long time, in the mind long time, and then executed. We understand that she was shot 3 times in the vagina. One of the bullets lodged in her leg, so it was 4 shots. 3 in the vagina, one of the bullet cannot be found. It was a type of bullet that's supposed to explode when it meets tissue, not bone, just tissue alone, right? Resulting in as much damage to the body as possible to occasion death, with the added bonus that the ballistics will be unable to identify which gun the bullets came from. But as the universe would have it, the bullets evidently did not explode as much as they should, and they were able to find evidence. And she had to be shot multiple times in the vagina because one shot wouldn't do it. That uterus that we ladies have, it's stretched. So what it would have done, the first bullet, it would have stretched the uterus until the force of the bullet exceeds the capacity of the uterus to stretch, and then it would burst through. But by that time, it would have been very slow moving. If you read about it, you will see multiple females have been shot that way one time and them live. Same had to do it multiple times. Why shoot her in her vagina? She was a 42-year-old woman. And if they saw blood coming from that area, they would assume that it was her menses. Yes, her menstruation. Yes, yeah, she's in her period. Another reason is that the bullet would be in the body, not leaving no wounds, no exit wound, that is. That is what you would expect if you shoot properly. So the bullet will be hidden. The third benefit of shooting her that way in the vagina would be that even though there were other people in the house and other people close by in the neighborhood and other people in other apartments, they would not have heard the shot. Why? Because when you hear a gunshot fire and hear that big boom sound, that is not coming from within the gun. It's actually coming from the outside of the gun. When the gunpowder and the bullet fly through the air, it is the movement of that separation of the air that creates that big explosion. And I suppose some chemical reaction with the air too, with the gunpowder. So you hear that big boom. So once that nozzle is inside of a closed area, surrounded by tissue and bone, as the body would be, and him Lego the shots them in there, nobody would have heard the shots fire because the body now would act as a silencer. This is not an emotional response. Something happen and you just get vexed and you just decide to do him wife something. No, plan it out. You see, his wife was rich. She would have inherited properties from her father and from her mother. And him was the chief of security for Mark Goling. Yes. Wasn't doing so well. 6 months after his wife's mother died, right? This was what he visited upon her and his own children and his own daughter by his first wife who loved him dearly. And now him want to plead guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. When he killed the wife, he tried to cover it up. It was the advisor who seemed to have gotten prips that the wife was properly dressed in her pajamas and some tights thing that she wore. Hair nicely combed and she well groomed lie down into the guest bedroom and not in the master bedroom, which is fear bedroom that with the husband. And that is where the visitors would have come in and see her, those who got a chance to see her. And that's where the policeman would have found her. After he made the nice arrangement, he called a policeman who was in bodyguard when he was an MP down at Constant Spring Police Station. Damn fool never make sure say organize up the thing properly and get a policeman where they know was reliable to say that she died of natural causes. Instead, the policeman put it down as sudden death, and that triggered an autopsy. So, he could not get a hold of the body to cremate because that would have been the final plan, to hide the evidence. So the policeman messed up the damn thing. And then them put out story when we were asking the Saturday, when we heard the news in the morning that she died. It was a shock. So how she died? It looked like it was an aneurysm because blood was coming from her nose. Right? So she died from an aneurysm. And the Englishman, I think, was the first to put out the news in the morning, expressing condolences to him, the murderer. Not even to our family, to him and his family. And then miss little bit of blood, she was out there long after when the information come out that it was, she was murdered. Shot for 3 times. She came out now and she started this foolishness about people wanting Melissa's land and that them send people in for kill her, for frame Silvera. And when she and Arlene Perrier and the others catching an argument over it, right? She come out and say, I don't know, whole heap of blood was on the scene. It's a little bit of blood. How she know? Then she go and say she wasn't there. Now, if the prosecution allows this plea, or in any event, if he changes the plea to guilty of manslaughter, what then would be the procedure? They are charging him for murder. He's pleading guilty to manslaughter. I don't know what the procedure is at this stage. I don't think that the plea would derail the murder charge. We need information from lawyers. I don't know how it got from Yasa. And as soon as I get it, I will bring it to you. Now, the question is, why change your plea? According to what was reported, and it sounded like it was George reporting, George Davis, it appears as though after the prosecution presented the ballistics evidence and the counter, you would have to have a, a cross-examination. So they presented the ballistics evidence, and it's after that, him decide saying, no, what? Make me change my plea. But why? Because based upon what he knows and what evidence they have, he has every expectation that he may well be found guilty. And if he's found guilty, depending on what the charge was, whether it's a capital charge or it was a non-capital charge, he could spend anywhere between 30 and 50 years in prison. And if he was sentenced to life imprisonment, the minimum sentence would be 40 years before he could get parole. We're talking about him leaving prison in his 80s or 90s. His life will be over. If he pleads guilty, if he changes the plea and plead guilty to the charge they're charging him for, which is murder, then he can only hope to get 1/3 of the sentence reduced. So that means that he would end up spending anywhere between 26 to 33 years in prison. But if he's being charged for non-capital murder, which is a minimum sentence of 30 years, pleading guilty could reduce the sentence to 20 years. That is too long for him. So, him want now to plead guilty to a charge that he was not charged for. He was not charged for manslaughter. He was charged for murder. My understanding of changing a plea is that if you're being charged for murder and you say you're not guilty, and at some point you say, you know what, let me change my plea. You change your plea and say, well, I said not guilty before. I'm now want to plead guilty. What are you pleading guilty to? It is to the charge of murder, the original charge. This now appears that he wants to plea to a charge that is not before the court. Now, how? Is this a fly? When he saw the evidence, him just tell him, lawyer, look, go and go tell him someone change my plea. I want it on the record, boss. Right? And them tell him what the risks are, and him say, I want to change the plea. The question is, will they be able to change the plea to guilty for manslaughter when manslaughter is not the charge before the court? The lawyers will have to explain that to us in our jurisprudence, how that would work, if at all. I would have thought that they should have approached the DPP with a view to having the charge changed, and maybe they did, and should run them where, but we don't know that for sure. So we wait to hear more. But this is very, very interesting indeed. Very, very interesting. And as me get it, me bring it to you. And me hope to bring you more for Georgie Podge Sam have more news for we. So we listen out and we cock ears and listen good. Yes. So that's the news I have for you, my dears. All of those risers that were telling lie upon people about how they send man for kill Melissa to get our land. How Juliet Holness kill Melissa. And to cement the lie, the little doodle man them upon them channel I talk about how did Juliet Holness name reach on Melissa's title? And the damn fool them. Don't know nothing, don't understand nothing, talk too much, gave up too much information. So we knew the property from them, Kobe, the size of the property over 300 acres, and that is Finsack property, and that is our grandfather and our mother's side that own it. So we could find the title and expose the damn liar that they are. When we draw the title and look on the transfer, the last transfer, which is what tell you who owned the land, it owned by the Kimlani. The same Kimlani them were own Manor Center in a Manor Park. Some Indian people. And them own the land. And they did indeed bought the land that was Finsacked. And here is Jolyan Silvera now. Looking out for number one. Embarrassing them and exposing them for the liars that they are. Anyway, folks, that's it for me. For now, I will bring you some more of this breaking news as we get them. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.